Hello and welcome to Sim.bc. The video that you're about to watch is going to start in a short while. I'm just going to say that I might not look very serious when I'm discussing this, and I believe from the topic of this video that this is a rather, this is a really serious topic to discuss. So if I don't seem sincere or serious when I discuss it, I am, and my opinions are, well, as I'm going to say as well, they are valid. I truly believe the things that I do say, and these are my opinions. It's just that I'm trying to take on a bit of a lighter tone because otherwise it's going to be really hard to watch the video, I think. Because otherwise I would just be very down in the dumps all of the time, just because of the possibility that the other side of the argument could happen. So please keep that in mind as you view the video, and don't diminish my arguments based on how I behave when I'm giving them. Oh yeah? Have a nice one, mates, and hope that you enjoyed the video. Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now is 1939, and today we're gonna talk about abortion. Yeah, just laying it down for you from the beginning so that you know what this entire video is going to be about. Because usually I establish a bit of a personal connection between me and the viewer who comes along. But today I thought, you know what, I will actually introduce the topic to begin with. So this... either it's here or it's there, it's probably going to be 000. And what am I talking about? Well, today I came across a bit of an interesting news piece. A news piece reading, Google bans abortion poll ads in Ireland. And I am not I'm not a professor, I'm not an expert in the subject of abortion. I'm not the expert of Ireland. I'm not an expert in Google either, for that matter. I'm not an expert in anything, one can argue. I just have a very strong opinion like everybody else out there. And as these, I would say, as these other dangerous people with opinions, I diverse, right? And how do I diverse? Well, I diverse in the way that I have a very strong opinion that can be changed if I am presented with the right kind of argument. Yet, there hasn't been an argument that I think will sway me to one side or the other of abortion, or rather from the side that I'm on to the opposite one, because I believe that my take on abortion is common sense. Yeah? And I know that apparently there's lots of people out there who do not think the same way as I do. But just so you keep in mind, this is going to be an entirely biased video, yeah? It's going to be my take on the issue alone. Or my take on the discussion alone, yeah? That means that I will probably not take up these strong arguments from the opposition, mainly because I do not know of them, if there are any strong arguments on the other side of the discussion. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Because I can say that when I saw this news piece, and I know that this entire video is going to be a minefield of political correctness. So instead of me hedging all of the time, which I will probably do anyway, just keep in mind that all of the things that I say that might sound absolute probably aren't. It's just that I don't need to hedge all of the time. It's like writing a conclusion for a paper. I'm not going to say this might suggest to be that. I'm just going to say it is like that. But when I say it is like that, I generally mean it could be like that. You with me? Good. We're all up to speed. Well, so when I read this news piece, or just the title alone, I was thinking, because I have such a strong opinion about the matter, that, and by the way, I am like, you know, pro-abortion, because it's the only way I can see how it works, right? People having decision, you know, people having power over their own lives, you don't cripple anyone in their decision making. I think that's fair. Anyway, now that you know that, let's move forward. Establish some context. So when I saw this, I saw Google bans abortion poll ads in Ireland. And I thought, Google, big multinational corporation, right? Why would they ban this poll? And then it occurred to me that maybe they wanted to be impartial, which is probably the case that they wanted to be, you know, they wanted to be impartial. But what I thought in the beginning was like, they can just spread all of these common sense arguments for why abortion is good. Why not take that opportunity to do that? And I kind of understand that they are just going to say that, well, advertisement is based on that people, you know, different companies are coming in and they're sponsoring us with advertisement, and that advertisement can be both positive and negative towards the subject, which means that it can be an disproportionate amount of people getting one side of the argument, as I'm going to give you, yeah? So that's probably why they, you know, took away that entire face of that entire thing, that, you know, we're not going to allow you for advertisement on this. Well, I was thinking, you know, why don't you just make sure that advertisement that is good appear? But then also comes the question, what is good advertisement in relation to a discussion as delicate as this? For some reason, it is delicate. Anyway, as for moving on, that's just a short introduction to the entire thing. So I was reading in the article, and I read something that I actually didn't know. And they say voters will decide whether to repeal the 8th Amendment to the Republic of Ireland Constitution, which states the right to life of the unborn. At present, the country has a near total ban on abortion, with terminations very rarely allowed. Now, as someone who is on one side of the spectrum, and I'm not saying a fanatic view, I'm just saying I have a rather strong view on the subject, right? Not that I'm getting into politics about it, it's not my end goal here, right? Don't associate me with any party just because I might say something that they have also said. But I'm not interested in the subject enough to go and be part of a political party, but I am of a strong opinion that what I think is right, because I've been, yes again, presented with the logical arguments for this one side that I'm on, and the other arguments for the other side haven't been that convincing. So as I said, I'm very abortion pro. I think that why not give every person in the world the opportunity to say what they want to do with their bodies, and if we can do that with men, then we can do that with women. Right? And if you, as a man, can say that, hey, you're pregnant, I don't want to be a part of this family, and you can just go away, why can't, I mean, I'm not saying that that's good style, but as I know, or as far as I know rather, that isn't illegal. Is it? I mean, you probably need to in some way be sure that you need to help the child, even if it gets born, even though you don't want to be a part of the family, but you can probably be written out of that because the parents are probably not in a good stage if they want that to be the case. So you can probably be written out of that responsibility. Or they can't actually determine who is the father, and that also means that the guy, so to say, goes free from having a child. I'm not saying that the child is a chain, ball and chain. That's not what I'm saying. I think that children are a beautiful gift. Except for when I see them, hear them, listen to them, or have to be with them. But otherwise, I could argue that, children's a gift. So, if a guy can walk away from this situation, why can't the girl say, since she can't probably walk away if she's pregnant, walk away from the child, why can't she, if she, sees that she is pregnant in an early stage, say that, what, I'm not old enough, or I don't want to, or for whatever other reason that they can make up, don't want to have a child. Now, other people might come, and say, well, maybe you do want the child, right? Because you don't want to make an abortion and then stand there the very next day and feeling like an idiot that you had an abortion when you actually wanted a kid. I can totally see that happening, yeah? I can totally see that being a reasonable defense on that side of the argument. However, I would argue that the choice that the mother, in this case, or the mother-to-be, should have the choice to say that, well, I actually don't want the kid, right? And that's up to me. I've been half of the production, so to say, of this thing in me belly. I don't want to take responsibility for this for whatever reason. Maybe this woman is saying that, well, I don't think that my kid is going to be raised in a good environment if I give birth as of now. Could be for any matter of reasons. Maybe she's poor, maybe she's a student, maybe she's very young, maybe she's very old. Could be all of these various different arguments for why. So why not just say pro-abortion? Give everybody the chance to take the decision that they want to take about their own bodies, about their own lives. Because as far as I can see, from my perspective, where I'm viewing the situation from, if I make a girl pregnant and I say, I don't want a kid, it's up to her, probably, right? Because it's her decision, it's her body, I get it. And I fully support that. However, if she doesn't want a kid, then she should be able to say that as well, right? And yet again, it's her body, so she's probably making the decision of this is an abortion. One can argue, it's an entirely different discussion about who is taking the decision. Is the decision going to be mutual? But in the end, I would say that it's kind of swayed to the person who's going to need to carry this baby inside of her for 9 months. Wouldn't you say that sure, it's a two-man team, so to say. It's a two-people job to actually make the baby happen. But let's be honest here, guys, we're just involved in this for the first 10, 20 minutes? And I'm really giving you the time here. I mean, more reasonably, it's more 5 at a good day when you're well rested. Or even worse, when you're not that well rested and then it takes 20 minutes, but that's not 20 minutes of fame, 20 minutes of glory. That's just 20 minutes of, can't you just get off? But anyway, after those, well, let's say, let's be, we're living in an imaginary example anyway. Let's say after the first hour, right? And I'm really giving you the credibility here, yeah? That you can boast and show off to your mates. That's just 1 hour of a 9-month process that you're involved in. So whose decision is it going to be to keep this baby or not? Yeah, isn't that probably going to be the mother-to-be? I would argue, yes. Yes, it's going to be that way. But then you also can say, well, rather, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because, as I said, that's an entirely different discussion. Who is actually having the right to raise the kid? Who's actually having the right to say something in the kid? All of these different things come up and you just spin out of control and you can't actually contain the argument, which is what tends to happen when you discuss these kind of things. That people are bringing in all of these different branches of the same problem, but aren't actually the origination of the problem, because what we're talking about is abortion itself. And again, I'm just keep on coming down to the fact that, well, it's kind of, a good thing that abortion should be a thing. And that it isn't, it's ludicrous. I mean, just imagine that you have someone who's being, and we're going to take obviously I'm going to take the very far end of the spectrum here. Yeah? So keep with me as I'm taking the very furthest part of the argument and applying it. So this isn't going to be, the average. I at least hope so, right? That this is going to be the average case. And we can argue that the average case is going to be handled differently. But let's say that someone have a sexual encounter against their will, so to say, and they happen to get pregnant. You can probably see where I'm going with this. And if you can't, use your mind. Imagine that you've been part of this, sexual encounter that you didn't want to take part of, and you became pregnant. Isn't it your choice now more than ever that you want to have an abortion, if that is what you want? Maybe you actually want to keep the kid. All the power to you, right? I mean, maybe you feel like you've been blessed in a way, even though you shouldn't say that because that's also an entirely minefield. But you get what I'm saying, that you see the child as a blessing even though the act wasn't. Then you could keep it, sure, but that's your decision. And you can also make the decision to keep it, which, in a way, I would argue, makes it a better thing, because you made the decision. You weren't feel forced to actually keep the child. I know this is going to be a disastrous video. People are just going to be like, mate, why did you even take this up? It's a minefield of stuff that you can trip on. I know. And putting it online, I know. Anyway, I'm just going to say that if that was the case, that you're involved in such an incident, you probably, more than ever, should have the choice to say either, yes, I want to keep the child, or no, I don't want to keep the child. Because, well, it should be up to you, right? Because now you're probably, most likely, going to be the single parent to a kid to be. After that particular circumstance, which we all should hope shouldn't happen, or it should not happen at all, but we can't close our eyes to that it does happen, which is unfortunate, but that is also why it is a part of the argument, because it unfortunately does happen. So this entire idea of having an absolutist view, or a very closely and near absolute view on abortion in an entire country that shapes the understanding in the mind of so many people in that country, saying that, abortion is wrong. Shouldn't we give people the choice to have the abortion or not, so that they can make up their own minds to say if it's wrong or not? Wouldn't that just be better? Because then when people come to the conclusion that, I think it's wrong, then they don't have to do an abortion, right? But if you have the other side of the spectrum, the people who say, I do believe that I want an abortion, then they can do that too. You see what I'm saying? By saying okay to the possibility of abortion, you're including both parties in this. Those who absolutely don't want abortions, they will still probably, most likely, should be happy that abortion is a thing, because they don't have to follow it. They can still say that, I don't believe in abortion. Well, you don't have to abort then. But the people who do want abortion gets punished under the assumption that abortion is, not an option. However, when they're favored, when it is an option. So it's a win-win situation having abortion as an option. Because if we're pro-abortion, the people who don't want to don't have to, but the people who want to can. When we don't have that, the people who don't want to won't, and the people who want to can't. But now they can, if we do go pro-abortion. You see the thing, I'm just reiterating the same point, but it's, if we just look at it mathematically, wouldn't that just makes the most sense? That the people who don't want to, they don't have to, but the people who want to, they can. Give the people more choice. Giving people more choice is probably always better. And I know that you can go to the opposite side of the spectrum and say that, well, if we gave the people this option, that would hurt society. And if we gave them this option, we would end up in anarchy. Is that what we're talking about here? I know that I was using one side of the spectrum as an argument for why abortion should be a thing. I know. But abortion as a whole, if we give people, you know, the option for abortion, would that really make society run wild and be destroyed and crumble in upon itself? If we look at it like this, Sweden is abortion pro. I'm a Swede. I'm influenced by my culture in this decision making as I'm discussing this, well, issue. Or this topic rather. Is Sweden a bad country? If we're to, I'm not saying that this should be correlated in any means, but I'm just saying to those of you out there who say that, oh, if we let go of abortion, then, you know, the country's just gonna go to hell. Well, look at Sweden. Would you say we're a bad country? If you do, then, you know, all the power to you. Objectively, you know, and I know you can't really say objectively when you're talking about good or bad, but if you look at the state of the economy, if you look at the state of the equality between the genders, even though it's not good, it's better than at most places. So I would say Sweden is a long way there. And we think that abortion, no, is okay as a country, as a law. Maybe not everybody in the country agrees on that, but it's still a law that, you know, we're abortion pro. Which I only see gives more benefits than it poses restrictions in, you know, in comparison to being, you know, I don't know what it's called, negative towards abortion, which only creates more restrictions than it creates opportunities and, well, solutions. So I'm not gonna ramble on about this anymore. I could go into who is the option to make the abortion. Is it the woman? Is it the woman or is it the man? Is it the man and the man if they have a surrogate? Is it the surrogate? I mean, there's so many different combinations that you can bring into this, which is all fair and should be discussed. But it's not the time for this video. You can also drag in gender equality. Is it a more gender equal or a more gender neutral society if we allow for abortion or not? That's a discussion within itself. However, abortion overall, if we're pro or neg, I would totally say pro. Wow, that sounded like I was adopting a bit of an accent there, yeah? But in part, or in the sense of abortion, pro, yeah? All of the time, 10 out of 10, until anybody else can change me bloody mind. And here I'm inviting you to try, but I'm just not seeing the other side of this argument. Which is making me feel very one-sided in this entire discussion, but that's just because that's the perspective from where I look. So please join in the discussion if you have a different view, and join in if you have the same view as well. Nothing better than some confirmation bias, isn't there? Otherwise, just gonna leave you with this. Choices creates opportunities and solutions, whilst restrictions generally don't. Have a nice one, mates, and I'll see you tomorrow.